Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Storytime with Sue. I'm Sue. I'm the director at Newton Community Farm. Today, we're going to talk about birds, chickens, and eggs. I'm very excited you could join us. I have some things to share with you in addition to the stories. A few announcements before we start. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and join us on our live chat. If anyone wants to participate while I'm reading Storytime, feel free to chime in with your ideas, your thoughts, your comments. I'd love to hear from you. Also, wanted to let you know that the farm is doing well. The farmers are there now planting all the seeds for our crops and for the seedling sale, which will be happening in mid-May. We'll have more information on our website soon. So if you're looking forward to planting a garden this year, we'll be doing our seedling sale in May. So thank you very much for joining us. First thing I want to show you today is a collection of birds that I have. I happen to really like birds, and I've been collecting them for a long time. So I'll show you, if you can see, lots of birds. We have a robin here, which you're probably seeing in your yard right now. We have a bright red bird called a cardinal. He's out a lot as well. Some birds you might see at the shore. There's a pelican, just like you see them on the posts. We used to see them in California and in Florida a lot. I've got a little chick here. Here's an owl. Here comes my cat. See the birds? It's another little bird. If you like birds and you want to collect them, you can get birds from all over the world. This is a little swan. He's made in the United States. I have a peacock here. Maybe you've seen peacocks before. This is an all-white peacock. This is a crow, and it's also called a pie bird because this is the kind of thing you put on top of your pie to let the steam out. My cat likes birds. This is Doodlebug. This is a little tray that I have over here that has some pretend eggs on it. I've got a fuzzy little chick. And here's some funny little chicks that my kids like to play with. Hello. They're bendy. They have wire inside. And there's little baby ones too. And I have this big egg that I bought once because this is my favorite color, turquoise. And these are some flowers from my yard. You might have flowers in your yard that you could pick right now to put in your house. I have daffodils, hellebores, and azaleas. So let's get started with our first book today. What I'm going to read to you is a very short little book that I found at the farm. It's called The Happy Egg. It's by Ruth Krause, and the pictures are by Crockett Johnson. And both of them have written a number of really good children's books. This is a sweet little book. It's very short. It doesn't have a lot of colors. The Happy Egg. Here's my favorite color again. There was a little bird, a big bird, sitting on the egg to warm it up. So it got sat on and sat on. And sat on and sat on. And sat on and sat on and sat on and sat on. And one day, peep, see a little peep, crack, pop, out it came. Ooh. It could walk. There it goes. It could sing. It could fly. There he goes. It could someday sit on other happy eggs. The end. Goodbye, little bird. That's a nice story. Maybe when you're inside looking out your window, or if you're outside going for a walk, you can see what birds you have in your neighborhood. We have this nice little easy, handy dandy bird guide. It's called Backyard Birds of the Northeast. So this is most of the birds that we see from our window and at our bird feeder. And it's nice and colorful, and it tells you different sizes and shapes of the birds. And if you're a little bit older, you might enjoy another kind of book. This is a book that I've had for about 20 years that my friend Edie gave me when I lived in Salt Lake City. And we used to go to the Great Salt Lake and count snowy plovers and killdeer and other kinds of birds for a migration survey. This is a wonderful book. It's quite dense. It tells you everything you ever wanted to know about every type of bird, how they make their nest, how their bones are laid out, what they eat, what other birds you can find them with. This is a wonderful book, The Birders Handbook, a field guide to the natural history of North American birds. And it's great for identifying birds that look similar to each other. There's lots of good illustrations, all kinds of drawings in here. So if you like finding birds in your neighborhood, or when you go on trips sometime, you might like to get a bird identification book. There's quite a few different ones. I have a collection of these as well. Some old ones that used to belong to my father. And these have great illustrations as well. Here's another older one. Often in the back, in the index, not only do they tell you where you can find the pages about which kind of bird you're interested in, you'll see there's a little checkbox here. So as you see them through your life, you can check mark which birds you've seen. This is called a life list, and a lot of bird watchers are really attached to their life list, and they try to check off as many types of birds as they can during their lifetimes. I have a very old field guide of birds. They almost always have pictures in them. This one has black and white pictures to show you silhouettes. And here's just a few more examples of bird books. Audubon is a famous artist who made beautiful paintings of birds, and you sometimes can find his artwork, John James Audubon's artwork, in museums. You can get lots of prints of his paintings and drawings. They're beautiful. The last thing I'll show you about bird identification is they used to make these handy dandy little cards where you could look up information about different birds you might see, and you could collect them all or buy them in packs. Let's see. Here's a cedar waxwing. And on the back, you find information about them. The funny thing about this series is that it's called Useful Birds of America. So I guess these were birds that they deemed useful in some way. This is my son's favorite, black-capped chickadee. They come to our window almost every day checking our bird feeder, even in the summer. All right, let's read another story. This is called Interrupting Chickens. It looks like the chicken is at his house. It's a pretty house. I wonder where he lives. This book is written and illustrated by David Ezra Stein. It was bedtime for the little red chicken. Okay, my little chicken, said Papa. Are you ready to go to sleep? Yes, Papa, but you forgot something. What's that? Asked Papa. A bedtime story. All right, said Papa. I'll read you one of your favorites. And of course, you are not going to interrupt the story tonight, are you? Oh, no, Papa, I'll be good. Here's the first story. Look, it's a storybook within a storybook. Hansel and Gretel. Hansel and Gretel were very hungry. Deep in the woods, they found a house made of candy. Nibble, 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 they began to eat the house, until the old woman who lived there came out and said, "What lovely children! Why don't you come inside?" They were just about to follow her when... out jumped a little red chicken and she said, "Don't go in, she's a witch." So Hansel and Gretel didn't. The end. Chicken? Yes, Papa. You interrupted the story. Try not to get so involved. I'm sorry, Papa, but she really was a witch. Well, you're supposed to be relaxing so you can fall asleep. Let's try another story. I'll be good. Little Red Riding Hood. Take this basket of goodies to Grandma, said Little Red Riding Hood's mother. But Riding Hood skipped along through the deep woods. By and by, she met a wolf, who wished her good morning. She was about to answer him when... and she said, "Don't talk to strangers!" So Little Red Riding Hood didn't. The end. Chicken. Yes, Papa. You did it again. You interrupted 2 stories and you're not even sleepy. I know, Papa. I'm sorry. But he was a mean old wolf. Yes, now get back into bed. Okay, Papa, let's try one more little story and I'll be good. Ooh, here's a good one. Chicken Little. Chicken Little was hit on the head by an acorn. The sky is falling, she thought. She was about to run off and warn Goosey Lucy, Ducky Lucky, Henny Penny, and everyone on the farm the sky was falling when... out jumped a little red chicken and she said, "Don't panic. It was just an acorn." So the Chicken Little didn't. The end. Chicken. Yes, Papa, you did it again. Oh, Papa, I couldn't let that little chicken get all upset over an acorn. Please read one more story and I promise I'll fall asleep. But Chicken, said Papa, we are out of stories. Oh no, Papa, I can't go to sleep without a story. Then, said Papa, yawning, why don't you tell me a story? Me tell a story, said the little red chicken. Okay, Papa, here we go. Bedtime for Papa. Once there was a little red chicken who put her Papa to bed. She read him 100 stories. She even gave him more milk, but nothing worked. He stayed wide awake all... Papa? Look at Papa. Oh, there's my cat's tail. Look at the Papa. Good night, Papa. The end. That's a funny story. I don't know if any of you ever do that, where your parents read you a story to make you sleepy and you stay awake. And once you've heard the story so many times, you probably know how it goes. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about the chickens that we have on the farm. Farmer Greg made an order of 11 different types of chickens for the farm. And exactly 1 month and 1 day ago, they were born. We ordered the chickens through a catalog, which I had never seen before. You can order chickens from a catalog. And what happens is I have these beautiful chickens at the hatchery. And once the chicken eggs hatch, they have all these different kinds that you can order. You see? Dozens and dozens of kinds. Maybe, I don't know, 50 or 100 different kinds. And in the catalog, they show you what they look like when they're babies and what they look like when they grow up. You can see they really change a lot. So we have about, I think 27 chicks at the farm right now, and they're 4 weeks old. Post office delivery station, which is a special place where you can pick up live animals. And he took his dog Boyd, farm dog Boyd, who you might have seen at the farm. He's a beautiful, friendly black and white dog. And Jay, who works at the farm too, and they went to the post office and got the little chicks in their box, which had holes in it so they could breathe. And he brought it back to the farm, and Boyd babysat the chicks in the back seat of the car while they got back to the farm, and he put them in a special little box inside the barn so they would stay warm because they don't have their adult feathers yet. They have baby fluff. So for a month, they've been in the barn. Farmer Greg's been giving them food and water and taking care of them. And very soon, they're going to move outside into the big coop that you've probably seen if you've been to the farm. They'll have a coop, and then when they get bigger, they can come out in the run and run around. So we have 11 different breeds of chickens, all different. Some have feathers on their heads that stick way up on top. Some have feathers over their feet. There's black ones, black and white, brown, orange, red. There are spotty ones. There's a beautiful orangish one that has light blue spots on its feathers. They're really pretty. So right now they're sort of like teenager age. So they're learning to jump and fly a little bit with their little wings. And they'll have a lot more space when they get outside once it warms up a little. Maybe in the next 2 weeks, Farmer Greg will move them out. So next time we're all able to gather at the farm, you'll be able to come and see all the new chickens that we have. And another interesting thing in this catalog, you can order other kinds of birds. You can order quail and grouse. And it shows you even what their eggs are going to look like. White eggs, some chickens lay brown eggs. You can see from this picture right here, all the different shades of eggs. Just like when you're outside, you might see a bird's nest in a tree. You often see little round birds' nests, about that big right now, and they have blue speckled eggs, blue eggs with tiny little brown speckles, and those are from a robin. Remember, a robin looks like this. Let me get my robin to show you. Robin looks like this. Sometimes the breast of the robin can be a little redder or a little darker brown, but that's what a robin looks like. And it's about this big, and they come out in the spring. Here's a funny picture of one of these white Polish. And here's a black Polish. See the feathers on top? Even when they came as babies, they had like little hats on. Now I'm going to read you a book, a true book, a nonfiction book about chickens, so that you'll see more what I'm talking about, where our chickens came from at the farm. This book is called Chick. See how they grow. This has nice pictures in the front pages as well. Hatching. This is my mother. She is sitting on her eggs. Inside each egg, a chick is growing. One of them is me. I start to chirp around the inside of my eggshell. I push my shell apart. At last, I am free. Out of the egg. I am 1 hour old. My brothers and sisters have hatched too. We are chirping to each other. My feathers have dried, and now they are soft and downy. Learning to feed. I am 3 days old. So this is sort of what they look like when they came to the farm. And I am feeling hungry. My mother is eating seed. How does she do it? I watch her carefully. I stretch up and take the seed from her beak. Look how cute. It tastes so good. I decide to peck some myself. A drink of water. I am 8 days old now. New feathers are growing on my wings. What is Mom doing? She is dipping her beak into a bowl of water. I hop into the bowl. The water is cool and wet. My sister is getting in too. False alarm. I am 2 weeks old. Today I am looking for food with my mother. Is something wrong? My mother is flapping her wings. She clucks at us to run away. It is a false alarm. Nothing is wrong. Mother calls us back. Meeting Dad. I am 4 weeks old now. This is what our chicks look like now at the farm. I am growing bigger every day. Here is my father. Look how big he is. Dad is very friendly. He lets me ride on his back. Growing bigger. I am 8 weeks old, and all my feathers have grown. I have a bright red comb on my head and a red wattle under my beak. I am big and strong. At last I can look after myself. I use my beak to keep myself clean and tidy. I am proud of my fine feathers. See how I grew. The egg, 1 hour old, 3 days old, 8 days old, 2 weeks old, 4 weeks old, 8 weeks old. Look how much they change. The end. Let's read another story. First, I'll show you my cat, who's very interested in these little birds again. Doodles. Doodles. Okay. This is a pretty short book. It's called Tough Chicks. And the chicks in this book remind me of this little chick. Look a lot alike. He's made out of felted wool. This book is by C.C. Meng, illustrated by Melissa Suber. There's the cat. She likes having stories read to her. Ooh, the inside looks like the inside of an egg a little bit. Tough Chicks. From the moment Mama Hen's eggs burst open, she knew she was dealing with some pretty tough chicks. Penny, Polly, and Molly shook out their wet fluff and immediately began to strut around the farm. Peep, peep, zoom, zip, cheep. They wrestled the worms. They raced the bugs. They drove off the fence after the pesky barn flies. Make them be good, clucked the hens in the hen house. Mama Hen ruffled her feathers. They are good, she replied, though at times the chicks did make trouble. Peep, peep, zoom, zip, cheep. Penny liked to grab the cow's tail to hitch a ride. Polly was fond of rooster roping, and Molly was partial to mud. Lots of mud. She loved a good roll in the pig pen. Make them be good, called the animals. They are good, Mama Hen clucked, but sometimes even she worried. Like the time Farmer Fred found the chicks looking under the hood of his tractor. We didn't touch anything. We just wanted to see how it worked, peeped Penny, Polly, and Molly. Make them be good, grumbled the farmer. Chicks don't belong in tractors. Mama Hen looked at the other chicks. Some were preening their first feathers under the morning sun. Others were quietly pecking grain from the hen house floor. 2 were hiding under their mama's wing, afraid to come out. My chicks are different all right, thought Mama Hen, but they're tough and they're smart. And they're different in a good way. Peep, peep, zoom, zip, cheep. Watch out below, Penny hollered as she swung off the cow's tail and into the yard. The other chicks ran for cover. Careful, Mama Hen called to Penny. Nice form, she added quietly. The hens in the hen house decided it was time to teach Penny, Polly, and Molly how to behave like proper chickens. They tried to show the chicks the fine art of scratching for grain. Not a speck of grain was found, but look, they'd made a blueprint of the tractor. They're drawing art. This one's diving in the mud. The rooster tried showing the chicks how to cluck in a calm and collected manner. Not a proper cluck was heard. Oh no. The pigs even demonstrated how to make a nest. Not a single nest was built. When Farmer Fred found the chicks looking under the hood of his tractor again, it was the last straw. That means he was mad. He leaned forward and fixed the chicks with a stern eye. You are little fuzzy-headed chicks. Be cute. Be quiet. Be good. And stay away from my tractor. I have hay to move before the rain comes. The chicks watched from the yard as Farmer Fred drove the tractor around the field, gathering the hay. But on his way back to the barn, the tractor spit out a puff of black smoke, gave a loud clunk, and then a long screech, and came to a sudden stop. Farmer Fred looked under the hood. He looked up at the dark clouds. He looked worried. Looks like it's going to rain. Then he walked to the back of the tractor and gave it a mighty push. The tractor began to roll. Faster and faster, it rolled down the hill. It was heading straight for the hen house. Bad idea, bleated the sheep. Moo, bellowed the cow. What are we going to do? Crowed the rooster. While the rest of the animals ran for safety, Penny, Polly, and Molly sprang into action. Peep, peep, zoom, zip, cheep. They swung off the cow's tail and onto the tractor's steering wheel, turning the tractor in the nick of time. The hen house was saved, but the tractor came to a stop smack in the middle of the pig's favorite mud hole. Mama Hen rounded up her chicks. I think it's time we showed these animals how good it is to have tough, smart chicks around. The chicks quickly scratched out a plan. Oh, and the animals went to work. Oh, they used the cow and the pig to pull the tractor out of the mud puddle. Under the hood of the tractor, the chicks tightened belts, checked fluids, and patched a few holes with Molly's super strong mud mixture. When they were done, Farmer Fred started his tractor. It worked! The animals cheered. Those are some tough chicks, the animals said. I know, said Mama Hen. Farmer Fred stopped his tractor. Those are some smart chicks, he said. I know, said Mama Hen. She turned to Penny, Polly, and Molly and gave them each a peck on the cheek. These are some good chicks, said Mama Hen. We know, said Penny, Polly, and Molly. Ah. Peep, peep, zoom, zip, cheep. Off they go. Now I have something else interesting to show you. Aside from the fact that I was enjoying story time very much. Around this time every year, my family and I like to color eggs. Usually, we buy egg dye to do this at the store. This year, we're coloring eggs with our own homemade dye. I've got 4 different colors. I'll show you 2 now and 2 after the next book. The first one is a very pretty light brown. It looks sort of like when you buy a brown egg at the store. These eggs were white when we started. So what I did was I took, oh, here comes the cat. Sorry, cat interference. What I did was I took coffee and vinegar and water, mixed it all together and let it sit in a container overnight in my refrigerator. And then today I strained the coffee out and I'm letting this egg soak in here. I'm trying to remember not to drink it. The second color we did is, dun, 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 we use a spice called turmeric. That's a spice you find in curry. I've seen it in coffee. I've seen it in a lot of foods lately. Do you know what color turmeric would dye in a white egg? I'll give you a minute to think about it. Let me know if you come up with an idea. Turmeric is a spice that has a nice smell. It tastes good. You see it also in soup or stew. Okay, we've got one guess. Jay guesses orange. Close, Jay, but not quite. If you put turmeric, 3 tablespoons of turmeric, 1 tablespoon of white vinegar, and 2 cups of water in a pot, you boil it, then you simmer it for 20 minutes, I think it was. No, 30 minutes. You get a beautiful yellow dye. So here's our yellow egg so far. We're going to leave it a little bit longer. See what happens. Looks like a glass of orange juice, but don't drink it. It would not taste like a glass of orange juice. I've got another book for you. This is a very, very large book. You might have seen large books like this at the library when there's story time, or at your school library, or maybe in kindergarten or first grade. Your teacher's able to get these huge books. Look how big this book is. Whoop. It's great for read-alongs when there's a whole room full of kids. And we can't wait to have you back all over to the farm so we can read together in the barn or outside in the grass. But for now, I'm going to read you this book. Let me do adjust my camera because this book is so large. Move all my little birds and get this to fit. Okay, I think that gives you the idea. The Little Yellow Chicken by Joy Carolee, illustrations by Elizabeth Fuller. Oh, she's got on a crown and a balloon. The little yellow chicken thought he'd have a party. He said to his friends, "Will you help me do the shopping?" His friends laughed at him. "Hop it," said the frog. "Buzz off," said the bee. And the big brown beetle said, "Stop bugging me." So the little yellow chicken went shopping by himself. When the shopping was done, the little yellow chicken said to his friends, "Will you help me do the cooking?" His friends shook their heads. "Hop it," said the frog. "Buzz off," said the bee. And the big brown beetle said, "Stop bugging me." So the little yellow chicken did the cooking by himself. When the cooking was done, the little yellow chicken said to his friends, "Will you help me set the table?" His friends turned their backs. "Hop it," said the frog. "Buzz off," said the bee. And the big brown beetle said, "Stop bugging me." So the little yellow chicken set the table by himself. Everything was ready for the party. The food smelled delicious. The friends knocked on the little yellow chicken's door. "I'm hungry," said the frog. "I'm starving," said the bee. And the big brown beetle said, "What about me?" The little yellow chicken phoned his grandmother, the little red hen. My friends wouldn't help me, he said. Now they want to come to my party. What shall I do? Don't let them in, said the little red hen. Eat all the food yourself. But the little yellow chicken was a kind little chicken. He thought and he thought. Then he opened the door. Welcome to my party, he said to his friends. Fantastic, said the frog. Amazing, said the bee. And the big brown beetle said, a scrumptious tea. Then they said to the little yellow chicken, we're sorry we were lazy. The next time you have a party, we'll do all the work. That's a good idea, said the little yellow chicken. The end. Let me show you the other two colors that we made with our natural egg dye. We have two more. Here they are. They look like cranberry juice and grape juice. But they're actually neither one of those. This one is beet juice. It's a pretty pinkish brown color. And this one is really pretty, I think. This is blueberries. So again, for these, I took 2 cups of water, a big tablespoon of white vinegar, and either 2 cups of blueberries for the purple one, or 2 cups of beets for the pink one. I brought them to a boil on the stove. I let them simmer for 30 minutes, and then I let them sit overnight. This morning, we put the white eggs in, and now they're just soaking, because the longer they soak, the more vibrant the color will be. So I'm going to have purple, pink, yellow, and brown eggs when this is done. I'll take a picture of all the eggs when we're done and put it on our social media accounts. So if your parents are on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, you'll see a picture probably sometime tomorrow or Sunday of how all the eggs turned out. We have 13 eggs to color. We have one more book to read. This is a long book, and this is a silly book. And it's called Horton Hatches the Egg, and it's by Dr. Seuss, one of my favorites. There's a lot of words in this book, so I might have to turn it to me sometime so that I can read it better for you. So bear with me on this one. If you have any questions about birds or eggs or chickens while I'm reading this, feel free to write in the chat box. If you want me to check out your question and answer it while I'm here, you can always email us at the farm or call us and we'll call you right back. We'd love to hear from you. So here's our last book for today, Horton Hatches the Egg by Dr. Seuss. Sighed Maisie, a little lazy bird hatching an egg. I'm tired and I'm bored, and I've kinks in my leg from just sitting here day after day. It's work. How I hate it. I'd much rather play. I'd take a vacation, fly off for a rest. If I could find someone to stay on my nest. If I could find someone, I'd fly away free. Then Horton, the elephant, passed by her tree. Hello, called the lazy bird, smiling her best. You've nothing to do, and I do need a rest. Would you like to sit on the egg in my nest? The elephant laughed. Why, of all silly things, I haven't feathers and I haven't wings. Me on your egg, why, that doesn't make sense. Your egg is so small, ma'am, and I'm so immense. Tut, tut, answered Maisie. I know you're not small, but I'm sure you can do it. No trouble at all. Just sit on it softly. You're gentle and kind. Come be a good fellow. I know you won't mind. I can't, said the elephant. Please, begged the bird. I won't be gone long, sir. I give you my word. I'll hurry right back. Why, I'll never be missed. Very well, said the elephant, since you insist. You want a vacation, go fly off and take it. I'll sit on your egg and I'll try not to break it. I'll stay and be faithful. I mean what I say. Toodaloo, sang out Maisie and fluttered away. The first thing to do, murmured Horton, let's see. The first thing to do is to prop up this tree and make it much stronger. That has to be done. Before I get on it, I must weigh a ton. Then carefully, tenderly, gently he crept up the trunk to the nest where the little egg slept. Then Horton the elephant smiled. Now that's that. And he sat, and he sat, and he sat, and he sat. And he sat all that day, and he kept the egg warm, and he sat all that night through a terrible storm. And there goes the cat again. It poured, and it lightninged, it thundered, it rumbled. This isn't much fun, the poor elephant grumbled. I wish she'd come back, 'cause I'm cold and I'm wet. I hope that Maisie bird doesn't forget. But Maisie by this time was far beyond reach, enjoying the sunshine way off in Palm Beach, and having such fun, such a wonderful rest, decided she'd never go back to her nest. So Horton kept sitting there day after day and eat. But Horton kept sitting and said with a sneeze, I'll stay on this egg and I won't let it freeze. I meant what I said and I said what I meant. An elephant's faithful 100%. So poor Horton sat there the whole winter through, and then came the springtime with troubles anew. His friends gathered round and they shouted with glee, Look, Horton the elephant's up in a tree. They taunted, they teased him, they yelled, How absurd! Old Horton the elephant thinks he's a bird. They laughed and they laughed. Then they all ran away, and Horton was lonely. He wanted to play. But he sat on the egg and continued to say, I meant what I said, and I said what I meant. An elephant's faithful 100%. No matter what happens, this egg must be tended. But poor Horton's troubles were far, far from ended. For while Horton sat there, so faithful, so kind, 3 hunters came sneaking up softly behind. What's going to happen? He heard the men's footsteps. He turned with a start. 3 rifles were aiming right straight at his heart. Did he run? He did not. Horton stayed on that nest. He held his head high, and he threw out his chest, and he looked at the hunters as much as to say, Shoot if you must, but I won't run away. I meant what I said, and I said what I meant. An elephant's faithful 100%. But the men didn't shoot, much to Horton's surprise. They dropped their 3 guns and they stared with wide eyes. Look, they all shouted, can such a thing be? An elephant sitting on top of a tree? It's strange, it's amazing, it's wonderful, new. Don't shoot him, we'll catch him. That's just what we'll do. Let's take him alive. Why, he's terribly funny. We'll sell him back home to a circus for money. And the first thing he knew, they had built a big wagon with ropes on the front, for the pullers to drag on. They dug up his tree and they put it inside, with Horton so sad that he practically cried. "We're off," the men shouted, and off they all went, with Horton unhappy 100%. Up out of the jungle, up into the sky, up over the mountains 10,000 feet high. Then down, down the mountains and down to the sea went the cart with the elephant, egg, nest, and tree. Then out of the wagon and onto a ship, out over the ocean, and ooh, what a trip! Rolling and tossing and splashed with the spray. And Horton said day after day after day, "I meant what I..." After bobbing around for 2 weeks like a cork, they landed at last in the town of New York. "All ashore," the men shouted, and down with a lurch went Horton the elephant, still on his perch, tied onto a board that could just scarcely hold him. Bump, Horton landed, and then the men sold him. Sold to a circus, then week after week, they showed him to people at 10 cents a peek. They took him to Boston, to Kalamazoo, Chicago, Weehawken, and Washington too. To Dayton, Ohio, St. Paul, Minnesota, to Wichita, Kansas, to Drake, North Dakota. And everywhere thousands of folks flocked to see and laugh at the elephant up in a tree. Poor Horton grew sadder the farther he went, but he said as he sat in the hot, noisy tent, "I meant what I said, and I said what I meant, an elephant's faithful 100%. Then, one day, the circus show happened to reach a town way down south, not so far from Palm Beach, and dawdling along way up high in the sky, who of all people should chance to fly by but that old good-for-nothing bird, Runaway Maisie, still on vacation and still just as lazy. And spying the flags and the tents just below, she sang out, "What fun! Why, I'll go to the show." And she swooped from the clouds through an open tent door. "Good gracious," gasped Maisie, "I've seen you before." Poor Horton looked up with his face white as chalk. He started to speak, but before he could talk, there rang out the noisiest ear-splitting squeaks from the egg that he'd sat on for 51 weeks. A thumping, a bumping, a wild, alive scratching. "My egg," shouted Horton, "my egg, why, it's hatching." "But it's mine," screamed the bird when she heard the egg crack. The work was all done, now she wanted it back. "It's my egg," she sputtered. "You stole it from me. Get off of my nest and get out of my tree." Poor Horton backed down with a sad, heavy heart. But at that very instant, the egg burst apart. And out of the pieces of red and white shell, from the egg that he'd sat on so long and so well, Horton the elephant saw something whiz. It had ears and a tail and a trunk, just like his. And the people came shouting, "What's all this about?" They looked and they stared with their eyes popping out. Then they cheered and they cheered and they cheered more and more. They'd never seen anything like it before. "My goodness, my gracious," they shouted, "my word! It's something brand new. It's an elephant bird." And it should be like that, because Horton was faithful. He sat and he sat. He meant what he said and he said what he meant. And they sent him home happy, 100%. There he goes with his little baby on his trunk. The end. Thank you all for joining us. I'm so happy to have had you here with us today. Remember, you can watch our shows anytime. They're all being recorded. So if you missed any part of this show, or if you want to rewatch um, Healthy Cooking with Jay on Mondays or Gardening with Hope on Wednesdays, you can find them all right here on our channel. We've also got them on our website. If you would like to contribute to our website, we'd love to hear from you about your garden. Maybe take some pictures of what you're seeing outside, what's inspiring you. If you're cooking or baking, you could share a recipe and a picture with us, and we'll post them on our website. If you want to take some pictures of what you're planting, your gardens as they start to grow, or anything around in nature that you would like to share with other people who are supporters of the farm like you. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you back here on Monday at 1 o'clock for Healthy Cooking with Jay. Thanks very much. Take care.